Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. So the first thing I'd like to do, I have a belief that when you get on stage to speak to a large crew, you have to admit sometimes when you're nervous. And I'd like to make a confession to all of you today. I, Traci Mercer, am not a developer. I don't know Java, but I deeply, deeply depend on the talent, the skill, and the smarts of all of you. And I am here on stage primarily because I believe my deeply smart and intelligent developers tricked me into this speaking engagement, believing that I could pretend that I know about development and code in speaking with you. So thank you, and you're fired, and we're now hiring for a new development team. I'm kidding, of course. I'm here to talk to you today about something that's very different. I'm going to be talking more about what's happening in the School of Psychology, in the degree of human attention span, and how that plays the part in what we build, how we build, and ultimately how it's used. For every line of code that we write, every bit of travel starts with that line of code. But there's a human being on the end that's consuming it. And what we are finding is the change in the human brain that's taking place is impacting how we need to think about the code that we write, the products we develop, and the UI and UX that it ends up in. Attention is expensive. This isn't just me saying it, but the human brain represents 8% of about the total body weight, but yet 20% of the consumption of calories that we take in. That means by sheer fact of weight to consumption, it is the most expensive organ in your body to run. And not only is it the most expensive organ, but its output is attention. Attention is the currency, the most expensive currency that we can provide. As we think about that, as we relay forward into what's going on in the world today, attention is harder to come by. We have social media. Many of you are on your phones now. I'm sure it's because you're tweeting or WhatsApping or facing about how great this summit is. But that attention that you need to pay attention to is incredibly hard to get. There's so much stimulus going on, and it's making an impact. There was a study done by Microsoft on the impact of human attention span and what all of these influences are doing to us. And it's made a material difference. Whoa, the slides just took off. Let me go back. Don't read this, or else you're going to know what I'm going to say, and it's a surprise. Weird. It went all the way forward. And we're back. Maybe the attention span of a clicker is also gone down. So, attention span. Microsoft did a study and found that the attention span of a human was about 12 seconds. This was done 20 years ago, about 20 years ago. That attention span today of humans is down to 8 seconds. That means literally every 8 seconds, I have to re-engage you. I have to do something else to make you pay attention. Think about that as you're writing code and the attention that it requires. I also want to point out something that may disturb some of you. I know many of you in the room as developers, you're very smart, or you believe you're very smart, one of the two. No comment there from the business side. But the attention span of a goldfish, anyone know what the attention span of a goldfish is? 9 seconds, yes. You developers have an attention span of 8 seconds, and a goldfish is 9. That does not say much for mankind these days. But it's something we need to realize and recognize, because when we are doing tasks that require attention, when we are writing code for programs and things that require attention, we have to think about the end consumer and the end user, even though it may not impact what we're actually writing and what we're thinking about day in and day out. As attention span continues, or as the stimulus around us continues, social media, push applications, mobile applications, everything that's constantly, maybe children, if you have children, everything that's constantly grabbing your attention, we are flipping from a point in which attention is increasingly harder to get. Yesterday, the attention kind of competition, information, we are in an information economy in which we could go out, we would seek information, we'd have to request it and pull it in. Today, as our attention spans are going down, information is so prevalent and so many things are coming at us, we are realizing that it has switched, it has flipped. Now we must curate information. We need to filter information. We need to actually get less of the things in front of us. And it means we've flipped from a supply-driven, meaning a corporation-driven, I'm giving you information to consume, to a demand-driven. I am choosing the information I will consume and how much time and attention I will give you. That's a material switch when you think about the implications on how you design a product, on how you think about UI, UX, and on how much power the receiver or the end person, the end user has versus the sender, which is the person writing the code. It could be the person writing the code, it could be the corporation, it could be the marketing message, but at the end of the day, we were in an economy, or in a human state of mind where we were giving information and it was able to be consumed. And then we created more efficient ways to provide that information, more means more mediums to provide that information, more ways to deliver it. And now with this flip, it's changed it. There's a theory going on within the School of Psychology, and it's around cognitive fluency. Cognitive fluency is basically saying, at the end of the day, information is cheap, but attention is expensive. And what does that mean for all of us? Well, many designers, and I'll flip into the design stage a little bit, many designers have known about this for years. They have thought about how does the course of what they're building and what they're doing play into information being cheap and attention being expensive. Have any of you read the book Think Fast or Slow? Anyone? Thinking Fast or Slow? Good, a few of you. Very good. So you'll be familiar with Daniel. The author of this book is a Nobel Prize winner, 2002 Nobel Prize in Economics. He wrote this book, Thinking Fast or Slow. If you haven't read it, I would encourage it if you're interested in the consumption point. It talks about System 1 and System 2 thinking. When we get into that cognitive fluency, all of this goes around to the concept that attention is incredibly hard to get, and we are programmed as humans to be different. Thinking Fast or Slow in this book, he introduced the concept, as I said, of System 1 and System 2 thinking. System 1 thinking, it's automatic, it's quick, it's intuitive, it's things we know and things we're comfortable with. It's the not clicking for every word to come up. It's subconscious, it's something we just know how to do. Theoretically, in the area of UI or product development, System 1 thinking is an intuitive UI. It's an app that you just know how to use the day you open it. This was something that when many people first came out with the iPhone, they said, oh, I don't know how to use it, and then they started using it and said, my gosh, it's just so easy. A good product, you don't have to give an instruction manual on, it's just intuitive. That's System 1 thinking. System 2 thinking, however, is intense. It's more deliberate. It's slower. It takes energy. And this isn't something that I'm talking about human beings. You're not a System 1 thinker or a System 2 thinker. This is actually how the cognitive fluency of your brain considers situations, intakes information, and engages. What this means as we apply to what we think about at Sabre is that generally travel is complicated. Sabre Corporation, for those of you who don't know, we are the back-end system and the primary, the biggest technology provider in the travel space. We have to think about what's happening with System 1 and System 2 thinking, because going back to that information is cheap, attention is expensive. There's also a theory here with cognitive about easy is true. Easy is true in design, easy is true in System 1 thinking, easy is true in product development and product management. I don't know if you know this, but we did an interesting study that found that companies with easier to pronounce names that are openly traded on the stock market perform better. What is the logic in that? It's easy, therefore it's true, therefore it's good, therefore I share more. Do you know what else? Companies with easier to read font also perform better. That makes no rational sense in an economic mindset, but yet it's true. This isn't something that's new to us. This has been something you've seen in the fashion industry for years, through many scholars through the years. The concept that less is more, or since we were talking about the fashion industry a bit earlier with the last speaker, Coco Chanel, who said, elegance is refusal. Now you think, I'm a developer, what the hell do I care about this? Valid point. However, you are the back end. You are the starting point to what all of this is going to realize. I want to give an analogy on how we think about this at Sabre when we went into our product management and our development team. The challenge is we need to go 100 meters horizontally, 35 feet vertically. That's the challenge. How are we going to go about that challenge? Here was the first suggestion. We're going to scurry a wall. You're going to scurry a wall, and then you're going to run 100 meters, and you're good. We've got it done. I don't know how many of you feel you could scale a 35-foot wall. Anyone want to volunteer? There's some show-offs in the room, I'm sure. Not me. I got heels on. I can't do that. However, if you break that problem down and you think about the attention span of a human, the cognitive fluency of their mind, and system 1 versus system 2 thinking, take that same problem. 100 meters horizontally, 35 feet vertically. Break it down into hurdles. 35 feet vertically doesn't have to be at one time. It can be broken into steps. It can be broken into strides. 100 meters, those strides can be around a track. And now someone can compete this much more intuitively, and you've taken the same task from what would be system 2, a 35-foot wall and a 100-meter run, to theoretically system 1, though I argue this still isn't system 1 because I don't think I could run 100 meters and hurdle. That's how we want to be thinking about this. Now, as I alluded, Sabre is this technology company that sits behind and powers the travel industry. Every flight you take, every hotel room you stay on, every adventure that you go on starts with a single line of code. And for us, we have to apply this thinking around what's happening in the end traveler and the end consumer, in attention spans and in cognitive fluency, in practice in a day-to-day. So though I just gave an analogy, what I'd like to talk about now, I'm not selling Sabre, but I want to give an example of what we have seen in some of the tools that we've done. We have an itinerary management or traveler experience tool. In our traveler experience tool, this does things for corporate travel. Expenses, how many people love to do expenses? Booking compliant travel, ensuring you get reimbursed on time, ensuring your company has duty of care, knows where you're staying, and knows what you're doing. These are all things that pretty much not one corporate traveler actually cares much about, but yet a corporation cares about. We had a challenge from Visa Corporation that said we have a 17% adoption rate of our traveler experience tool. That means 83% of my travelers I can't track down, I don't know what's going on, and I can't ensure their safety. We launched this tool by, again, taking that theory, taking a product-led vision, a design-led vision, thinking about system 1 and system 2 thinking. Within 1 week, Visa, with our traveler experience tool, went from a 17% adoption rate to a 70% adoption rate. That began with a great team of developers and a great team of product managers coming together in an agile format and thinking about how do we solve this problem with that end user in mind. Now, an interesting but slightly different challenge we had in the corporate travel space is dealing with a large Western-minded travel agency base, Australia and Western US. Travel agents historically have used a screen like what you'll see in the back. It actually looks like a coding screen. We call it cryptic for a reason. They have to learn Sabre language in order to use it. But many of the travel agents who've used it have used this system for years, 10, 20, 30 years. They know this system like the back of their hand, and it's incredibly intuitive. That means despite the clunky UI and the clunky experience, it's gone into system 1 thinking. However, the challenge that we're getting now is as travel agencies are hiring more, the travel agencies are saying, I actually have millennials entering my workforce. I have new people who don't want to learn code. They're used to point and click. They're used to everything being mobile. So we created what you see on the front, which is a B2C customer UI direction in the corporate travel space. May not seem like a big revelation. Here's what happened. The brand new travel agent said, ugh, finally, I get it, I understand it. It goes into their system 1 thinking very quickly and easily. The best travel agencies in the world who knew everything in cryptic said this is incredibly difficult. I don't understand. I don't like it. I don't want it. Why are you putting pictures and graphs and things in front of me? This makes no sense. That's the difference in the impact of System 1 and System 2 thinking. So at Sabre, these things are playing a role in what we do and in a way that we think about our products. I know you aren't designers, and you know I'm not a developer, but as we think about these things at Sabre, it is a big challenge for us in how we navigate the travel industry and how we take things forward. And we're incredibly dependent on all of you and the great things that you can provide us as we go forward. Considering the larger context of everything you do, that single line of code in the larger context of what it means for an end traveler is the most important thing that I would encourage you from a business and leadership side to do. Thank you so much, and please come and meet our Sabre folks at booth 29.